from different places, we all have different names. No matter what life brings us, Jesus is the same. We're just your Methodist to the madness. Methodist to the madness. Hi,
I'm Beth.
I'm Tim.
I'm Jessica, and we're just your everyday
Methodist to the madness.
Well, guys, welcome to... Did we survive the first week of January?
I think so.
I think we did. I think we made it. Has anything life-changing happened to anybody within 7 days?
I got the illness that has plagued my house, and I'm obviously 100% over it right now at this time.
Wait, who's talking? Is this Beth?
It's the artist formerly known as Beth.
Oh, okay.
I didn't like my regular voice on recording, so I thought I would change it so I would like it even less. So this is my voice now.
Well,
if we get more followers this week, we've got an issue, because then we're going to have to, I don't know, make you sleep outside so you're always sick.
Remember that episode of Friends where Phoebe was trying to get a cold so she could have the sultry voice when she was singing?
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. My stinky shoes.
Wow.
Nice.
I'm going to have to watch that now.
Has that been what update that you have for us this past week, Beth, is the fact that you caught a cold? I caught a cold, but I also made plans for us to spend a few days in the mountains. Jonah wanted to go to Wrightwood, but I'm really bad at planning anything at a time that is, convenient and where stuff will still be available. Yes.
So, and with stuff, I had very many specifications. We brought all of our dogs with. I wanted a place. We have 4 dogs. We just brought them all with.
Yeah.
And it was fine. I love my dogs, but anyway, so I couldn't find a place in Wrightwood. We found a place in Crestline, which I've never heard of before, but it's 45 minutes away from both Wrightwood and Big Bear. And it was kind of a weird cabin, the stair situation. There were so many stairs just leading down to the cabin. And then it rained the second day that we were there. And I was afraid that all of the stairs were going to rot and we would
be stuck down there.
Yeah. But excuse me. They had a hot tub. That was another requirement that I wanted. And there was also a sauna, which Owen loved. He spent most of his time in the sauna. So I was sick, but I think I posted this on Facebook. If you're going to be sick, you might as well do it in a place that's in the mountains. And it was really nice. It was kind of it was a really low key, quote unquote, vacation. And I wish we could have done more, but we did go into town and do a little bit of shopping, which was fun. So
nice. I'm glad that you were able to purchase the cold for a discount. So that's good.
I did. Yep. It was 50% off.
That's wonderful.
Hey, that must have been a stellar discount, Beth.
Stellar. Yep. It was
stellar. Tim, what about you? How's this past week been?
So this past week has been extremely busy. I'm a systems administrator, so I work with computers and things like that. And I had to move a lot of equipment with 3 of my coworkers, and it was a very interesting operation. But besides that, I did manage to come upon an interesting insight. So I had a wonderful time at church on Sunday. I was there in person.
I didn't see you, Tim.
Oh, no, I know. Yeah, I was, I happened to get the wonderful opportunity to perform in the choir this past Sunday. And
I forgot about choir, Tim.
Oh, but you will be there next time, yes?
But I was also sick. I still sounded
that's a good reason to miss choir, actually.
No, it's fine. I wasn't even in town on choir day, so it's fine. Sorry, Tim.
Oh, yeah, no problem. So So anyways, after church, I had like such a great time. But however, I came to like this point in time for like 2 hours in my day where I finally acknowledged to myself that I didn't really know what I wanted to do with my time, and so actually used the word that I was experiencing some form of boredom. And so with that in mind, I started thinking about how I really should utilize every moment in such a way that it's purposeful. And then, not too long after that, I remembered something I came up with like a couple months ago. I don't know why. I was just on some sort of philosophical, like insightful, like journey of some sort. I created my own quote. I said, "Moments are precious. Count the seconds." And so after I remembered that, I'm like, okay, maybe to center myself, I'll start counting 1 to 10, 1 to 100. And then I decided to count down from 100 to 1. And I actually looked online that this is actually a form of meditation. And this is like the best kind of meditation that I think that I'll actually be able to stick with. In fact, I'm thinking that maybe I can incorporate other things like memorizing scriptures or like poems or something like that. Like just an overall like focused sort of exercise. And so yeah, that was interesting. But today I had like a really off day, and I think part of it is that I missed my walk. And I missed my walk because I was afraid of the cold. And I'm really surprised that I was afraid of the cold because I take cold showers. So like, what's the problem? Like, so I must have been like, not just like feeling great in general. In fact, I was feeling a little bit feverish at times, but I feel completely fine now because I went for a walk at the end of my workday, and I'm good to go. So my mom was really nice, and she bought me some gloves. So next time in the morning, whether I walk my dog or not, and I'm going to try to walk my dog, but sometimes it's not always possible because sometimes mornings get out of hand and I'm out of time. I don't know, but I'm just going to go out there, put the gloves on, and just like brace the cold because it's just going to make me feel so much better.
Oh.
So that's my whole weekday update thing.
Nice. Beth is flashing her snazziest gloves that she's got.
I got some gloves from Jeannie a couple weeks ago, the office manager lady.
Oh, wow.
Is that her job title? I don't know.
Yes, office manager lady is correct.
Office manager lady. That is the contract that she signed.
Yes.
and I had them in my pocket because I was going to transfer them to my car. So I would always have gloves in my car.
That's
wow.
Excellent.
Hey, for the audience, those gloves, they look to me in the camera to be red and green. So I think they are Christmas gloves. Is that correct?
Like a plaid? It looks to me like it's like a red and a brown and a black.
Oh, okay. So they're not Christmas gloves. They're like...
And I'll be doing jazz hands in them always, just so you know.
Wonderful.
Very
Jessica,
nice.
What about you?
Yes. How
Oh my
are
gosh,
you,
guys.
Jessica?
Thanks so much for asking. This past week, today was a really crazy day as well, because it was my first time back at work from I haven't worked for 2 weeks. I've been on winter break. So I'm trying to function in work mode again. And my coworker and I are my boss and I, we both got to work and we both looked at each other and said, "Can we go home now?"
Yep.
And that was kind of where it went. But it was a pretty decent week. I'm just going to say it now and then we can head into Beth's ministry moment. But unfortunately, our last vial was unsuccessful. And so we are currently in prayer and trying to figure out next steps because our donor is no longer available. There were no vials left. And so now we're back to square one.
Sorry, Jessica.
So I'm supposed to be super fertile these next few months. And so we're kind of well, we feel like we need to keep trying. And so
I know with sperm you can. I don't know. That's weird. I'm sorry I said that.
I didn't hear what you said. What'd you say?
I said nothing. I didn't say anything about finding all the sperm that you can.
Oh no, that we've already had that conversation. We walk around the grocery store thinking, okay, this gentleman is approximately 6 feet tall, good hairline. We think of random things like this. But there's also legalities. We don't, but anyway,
that's
so that's
episode of Friends. We don't need to get into it.
So anyways, it's been a weird week. I'm still honestly processing everything because I feel like I'm just like, we've gone through being mad at God to questioning things. And then for me, it's like, am I good enough? And it's like,
Jessica,
so
I've been giving you extra prayers this week because I just kind of had a feeling you might need them. So,
I appreciate that, Beth. I appreciate that. Yeah. But anyways, but I it is what it is.
Right. Yes.
Said someone famous probably at some
I'm
point.
sorry to hear that too, Jessica. And I have full confidence in you. I think you can definitely get pregnant. Like, just keep trusting in God, and I think that's like the path. And I'll be praying for you. Continue to pray for you as well. Thanks,
Tim. I appreciate that. Well, now we can awkwardly head into Beth's ministry moment.
No, I'm just kidding.
Wait, do we want to do updates? Church updates? Do we have any?
The main update is that we're back with Food for Thought this week in Kids Club. That's the most exciting thing is Wednesday starting at 5:30 Kids Club. And then at 6:00, we've got our awesome Food for Thought. New beginnings for all. We are excited, and we're exciting for a new Beth's ministry moment.
So
2024.
I'm gonna change what I said because I said speaking of disappointments, but I'm gonna change it now to speaking of new beginnings. Today we have our first return guest, and it is Pastor John. Welcome.
Yay!
Wow. First return. This is quite the honor. Thank you very much. It's good to be back.
Yes.
I remember, I think it was the last episode or maybe the second to last episode, you guys were talking about like who's the biggest Methodist to the Madness fan. And I think you had determined it was Kathy Ankeny, I think.
Okay, I still haven't written her back. I'm the worst. Sorry, Kathy. I love you.
Well, I'm also a huge fan. I listen to it every time it comes out. And so it's just great to be back. So thank you for having me on.
All right.
We're
thank you, Pastor John. I'm so glad you're such an avid fan. That's really nice.
I got a Methodist to the Madness tattoo on my right shoulder blade. And
nice.
It's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
Just kidding.
That's amazing.
Is that what Julian got for Christmas? Was a tattoo gun, and that you let him try it out?
Yeah.
I might be an irresponsible parent, but I'm not quite that. I haven't gotten I'm not quite that close to the line.
You're not supposed to admit that.
Yeah.
I do have some Methodist to the Madness ornaments that are hanging on my Christmas tree.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Do you still have your tree up?
All of our Christmas stuff is still up. Yep.
Please don't tell that to Amber, because I told her I was feeling claustrophobic a little bit, and we have taken all of it down, and now our house feels so empty. It's like, what do we do with all of this now?
You guys had extra credit though with 2 Christmas trees because you had your regular tree and your Grinch tree.
That's true. Yeah. A lot, but it was very festive, and we definitely had fun with all the decorations. That's all Amber.
Well,
100%.
On Sunday, Pastor Jim asked, are any of you the kind of people that will take your Christmas decorations down on the day after Christmas? I don't remember what service he asked it, but only one person raised their hand
Who was
into
it?
Pastor Jim's. I don't remember. I don't think I could see from my vantage point for some reason, but he said, "Oh, okay, so only one Grinch in our church." But now that we're having this conversation, and now I know there's at least two. Jessica.
Yeah. It's usually like right after New Year's, I'm kind of like, all right, there's not much of a need. The only thing that Amber was thinking was making it into like a Mardi Gras tree, because like we're huge into Mardi Gras. And that's the only thing, which is, before we slide into sermon feedback, that is one thing. On February 10th, Amber and I are hosting a Mardi Gras party for the Young Adult Life group.
Wait, I'm a young adult, right? Can I come?
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And so we're going to have Mardi Gras games. We've already ordered our king cake from New Orleans. And so it's going to be pretty festive. Beads will be thrown. Whoa. There will be clothing, because we are at a church function, everybody.
I wasn't even going to mention anything about that, because I used all of my inappropriate insight with,
Well, we will be talking about fig leaves pretty soon. So.
Speaking of beads, do we think that Adam and Eve would have been thrown beads? That's the main question in this conversation. So,
yeah,
I like it. They were the original Mardi Gras people.
That's true.
It's a little known story.
Yeah. So we're going to go ahead and jump into sermon feedback. P. John, are you okay to join us for a few minutes to go through? We had a questionable pastor this Sunday go through new beginnings. By questionable, we mean highly qualified and exceptional.
I was thinking that he was just very questioning oriented. He was asking a lot of questions.
That's true. No, we had an awesome new sermon series start this past Sunday. Pastor John, we appreciate you diving into our new beginnings, new creation. I know there was a couple things that stood out for me, but I'm curious, Tim and Beth, if there was something in particular that stood out to you over the sermon.
Oh, yeah. Would you like me to start?
No, just say, oh, yeah, and we'll just stop.
No, Pastor John, you talked at the beginning about being defensive as a kid. I was so defensive when I was younger, and I was so sensitive, but I was not the one dishing it out. I was just the one being cracked all over, because I took everything so seriously, and I was just an easy target because my brothers knew what buttons to push, and they would push them, and they would get a reaction out of me. And so, but I've learned as an adult, I'm still a little defensive, but I'm working through it. Like Owen will even tell me, like, when I was younger, this happened, you said this to me and I didn't like it. And even just like a year ago, I would have gotten so defensive and been like, well, that's because blah, 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 blah. And it's hard being a parent. But now I'm like, I did say that, and I'm really sorry that I said that to you. And I just didn't, that's what I thought I was supposed to do or say at that time. But now I know differently, and I'm trying to do better. And so that's kind of the approach that I try to take now. And then the second thing that you mentioned was that Adam and Eve had to do light veterinary work. And I've been doing that just with my own pets. We had a dog who had diabetes, so we'd have to give him insulin twice a day. And then Owen's cat got really sick, and I would have to give her vitamin K injections, which was basically like an IV bag. And I would have to grab her skin and I thought I could do it very easily. Well, I did have to feed her through a feeding tube, which was pretty easy, but I had to do it like 4 times a day. But they wanted me to give her vitamin K injections. And I was like, I'm used to sticking animals with needles. That's fine. But the diabetes insulin needles, they would go in like butter. But these vitamin K ones, I would have to like jab it in there. It did not go in easily. And then I would have to like hold her still and try to like squeeze the stuff out of the IV bag to get it in her like faster. And at that point, I was like, I was interested when I was a teenager, and I even started going to school to be a vet tech. And when I was caring for Owen's cat, when she got sick after he went back to school, I was like, I should just do this and get paid for it. But then I realized I don't want to deal with other people's sick animals, just my own. So, and now we have a different cat who has diabetes. And so I'm giving her shots daily again.
Wow.
Yeah, veterinary. I wrote on my notes, defensive, check. Light veterinary work, check. And then you said about the fig leaf and how it was probably scratchy like sandpaper. And I can't remember if you said this or if I thought it, but like I thought maybe that's what they thought they deserved. Did you say that, Pastor John?
I did not actually.
Okay,
I don't think so. Yeah.
That's what I took away from that.
Wow.
Because as you all know, if you've been listening to the podcast in December, I got in a car accident and it was totally my fault. My car was totaled. I had to get a new car. And so I had to drive around this like dumb little rental car until I could get a different car. And it was just really small. It was a Mitsubishi Mirage or something like that. So you had to really squint to see it because it was a Mirage. It was very small.
Yes. Yeah.
And they were like, you could pay extra if you want a bigger car than that. And I was like, nope, this is the one I'm going to get. And like, there was no dome light in it. So I had to like, if I was looking for anything when I got home at night, I have to get my flashlight out. And they were like, you could trade this in at any time. But I was like, nope, this is the car that I deserved. So I felt with the fig leaves, like maybe they were like, this is what we deserve.
This is what we deserve. They went out looking for the scratchiest leaf. That was intentional.
Yep. And I have a new car now, and it's the same make and model as my other car, but it's so much better. It has so many more bells and whistles. So I feel like God was like, Beth, come on, this is what I will provide you with now.
Yes.
I love that tie-in.
Yeah, that's basically all I have.
Nice. Tim,
like
any
quick takeaways, Tim?
Yeah, so I think the first thing that stood out to me right away was how Eve was basically the first theologian. I can't pronounce that word.
Theologian.
Theologian. Yeah, I actually practiced before the episode, and clearly it was to no avail
I love that
regarding
so much.
success there.
Love it.
So, anyways, I thought that was really fascinating that she was had that line of questioning. Like she got the information from the serpent, and then she also had the wisdom from God. But then she kind of weighed it based on what the serpent was saying, and it was really attractive what the serpent was saying, right? Like her eyes would be open and she would see like God and she would understand good and evil. And so maybe that was the more attractive option, following the line of reasoning. However, especially relating to the fact that this could be treated as a historical parable, as Pastor John was saying, it kind of relates to our own lives, where we come up with this line of reasoning via temptation or something that is causing us to fall out of line in regards to following God. That we just kind of like go with that. So I can really like relate to that entire scenario that Eve was presented with. But the big thing is, like, the main takeaway is that, sometimes we have such compelling reasons, but like trusting in God is really powerful and really comforting and really important. And I have noticed in my own life that I feel so much better every day when I trust in God. So that was a really helpful, like, wise, like, takeaway that Pastor John, that you had. And actually, I think that was like a missing piece of information for me regarding my self-improvement path. Like, I think if I try to trust God more, then it's really going to help me all the way. Like, I won't have to be so careful about like what ideas I'm following and things like that, like next steps and so forth. Like, it seems like trusting in God may be that thing that will allow me to follow the path that I feel like I need to follow. So that was really powerful for me. And actually, I forgot to mention this in the very beginning. Pastor John, this is definitely one of my favorite sermons from you. You did an excellent job.
Thank you for saying that. Yeah.
Yeah. So the next takeaway is I thought it was fascinating how you brought up the gardener in the Gospel of John, how Mary Magdalene, it was Mary Magdalene, right?
Yes, Mary Magdalene.
Yeah.
Yep.
Mary Magdalene saw Jesus, thought he was a gardener, and that is very interesting because of that story in the garden. So like you were mentioning, but I think that's really fascinating in general, and really powerful regarding like accepting Jesus and following after Jesus, because then that kind of gives us that like insight and like all the amazingness of the garden. We're experiencing it here and now when we follow after Jesus. I think that's really amazing, really. It kind of gives us like a different outlook on like following after Jesus, even though we kind of have like that general idea of mind, thinking of it as a new like a new beginning, sort of like the name of the series. Kind of like that was the beginning. You have the Garden of Eden, and then you have a new beginning with Jesus. That's just really cool. And finally, I wanted to mention the fact that going back to what you were saying about how the Garden of Eden and Adam and Eve like origin story could be treated as a historical parable. And I think that really kind of falls in line with like the rest of the Bible, particularly how Jesus always spoke in parables. So it actually makes sense that you would have that sort of like understanding, or it makes a lot of sense when it comes to like tradition and history. So yeah, great stuff. It was really interesting this sermon.
Yeah, you pointed out the story about John chapter 20, the story of Jesus and Mary Magdalene. And I'd never made that connection. When I read that, I was like, whoa, that's like kind of, I'd never made the connection between the first garden and then Jesus in the garden being mistaken as a gardener. So I love that connection. And also, it's really powerful to me because in the Garden of Eden story, that when they get sent out, there's an angel who is put on guard at the entrance when they're leaving with a flaming sword. And it's like they look back at this garden and they're never going to enter again. And it feels so finite. Like it feels so like it's, like that's the deal is done and that's it. Right. And they were like, when I was reading it, they were talking about how, the kind of, in the garden, you have God walking about in the garden, and you have this a strong sense of God's real presence there. And so when they're leaving, it's as if they're not leaving without God, but it's as if their relationship with God is slightly changed because of kind of, the decisions that they've made. And so when I hear the John 20 story of Jesus being that gardener, sort of starting up that work of God's recreation, it kind of like gives me a hope, because it's like, hey, this is a reminder that God is a God of grace. And God showed Adam and Eve grace by reclothing them. And even when they left the garden, God was still with them. And along came children after that. But then with Jesus, you get this amazing reminder of God's promise that God's not done. He hasn't left. He's not hanging out just in his little garden on his own, that God is everywhere. And he's here with us now. And he is starting new beginnings in our life here in 2024. Whatever that new beginning might be for you.
Yeah.
And
Absolutely.
I like how you mentioned, kind of when you opened up the sermon, you said something along the lines of, what is keeping you from fully trusting God in your life right now? You mentioned something along those lines. And I think it's interesting because I know the last time we left off with the God's Holy Darkness series, and I felt like after that series had finished, it all started to make sense last Thursday. and then we think about, we trust God. We talk about how much we trust God and we trust in his plan for us until, and it's like, it brings me back to, I have this this, not a war, but like, there's this like mind thing going on where it's like, where I think about, Eve and hearing the serpent and almost like trying to coerce, like, hey, this is like, it's okay. You can eat the fruit. You're good, and she's kind of like, all right. And maybe in her head, she innocently thought she was okay. And it's like, at what point are we discerning that this is God speaking to us? Or is it our own internal selfishness, human nature? And
yeah, that's interesting, Jessica. Because sometimes this is interesting. I hadn't thought of this in a while, but like sometimes I might have like an idea about, so I haven't, like, something that goes on my thought process that would, when I am trusting in God in this scenario, would make it so I'm not really trusting in God. But in following that line of reasoning, kind of like how Eve was doing, it's almost like I'm thinking, oh, maybe this is like a different path to God. And maybe that's what Eve was thinking or something. I don't know. It's really fascinating. Go ahead.
Oh, no. I was just going to say, well, there's no way to cover all the details from the story because it's just, my goal is to hit like a 20 to 22 minute sermon. But like, interesting when you listen to their dialogue with each other, everything kind of gets a little bit muddled. Like, for example, it starts off with the serpent's question, and the serpent already starts off with inaccurate information. The snake says, did God really say that you can't eat from any of these trees? Which is nothing that God ever said. God said you can eat from everything except for these two trees. And so already the snake has already thrown Eve off with this, deceiving question. And then Eve changes it and says, well, God says I can eat from every tree, but except I cannot touch this tree. And God never said you can't touch it. He just didn't say you can eat from the fruit. And so, like, in this process, information is kind of getting muddled.
Wow.
And it's partially because of the deception of the snake.
Yeah.
Probably also partly because we get deceived by things that look enticing, like the fruit looked good. It probably was going to taste good, and it's supposedly, according to the serpent, was going to lead to wisdom.
Right.
And when you start, like, when something starts sounding appealing, then you start finding ways to justify a way to get to it, even if you probably shouldn't.
Right. Like, I deserve this cookie because I deserve this for a walk.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right. Or maybe this is going to lead to a better end. It's like, oh, you have that cookie or something like that. And then suddenly I'll have like amazing motivation to commit to some particular task or something.
What about this,
almost
guys?
the same way. Huh?
What about this? Eve had ADHD and couldn't remember exactly what God had said, and she got confused.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, Adam was right there, right next to her, never said a darn thing, never helped out.
The football game, John. Just hanging out.
He had the football game on.
What about this apple?
Yeah, for sure. It's like, oh yeah, I just want to go back to my football game. Here, have this apple. Yeah,
more like a fig ball game.
Yeah, a fig ball game. Yeah, that's what it becomes, I guess, at that point, right?
Well, actually, it's funny you mentioned that, Jessica, because commentators were saying, people the traditional way of referring to the fruit is an apple, right? Even though it just says fruit. And the commentators were saying it could have been any number of things. They did have apples in the Middle East. And so could have very well been an apple that people were thinking of at the time when the story was written down, or maybe a fig, or maybe a lemon.
I don't think that apples are the best fruit, though. I don't think it is an apple, because apples are just kind of like, it's an apple.
Maybe it was
a pear. Pears. I was thinking pears are a little more tasteful than apples.
Mm-hmm.
I almost put a story in my sermon, and I realized it was just going to be way too much of a tangent. But for the Eternals movie, when it came out like a couple of years ago, Kumail Nanjiani, he wanted to get ripped because he was a superhero, and so he went into this intense diet and exercise routine to basically cut out like all bad for you. And he was talking in an interview one time, and he said like all sugar was cut out of his diet. And so he said, I've never in my life been so like found a piece of fruit so appealing. He's like, I was just like starving for anything with sugar in it. And he's like, I would bite into like a pear and I'd be like, oh, this is the most delicious pear. And then he's like, what's happening to me? He's like, usually I would say this like about a piece of cake or something, but what possibly could have that fruit been that it was that enticing, to make her question her commitment to God.
Chocolate covered strawberry for sure.
Maybe it's like the most like amazing thing that we can imagine, and then what Eve experienced was like times 100 of that or something.
Yeah.
They also have processed foods and all of that as well. So if it were just a pear or an apple, it probably was incredibly delicious.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like when you think about it, so you have like, say, the apple, it tastes so amazing, it's so beautiful. But then you also have the extremely powerful and like impactful and comforting presence of God. So it's like those two things. And then the serpent just happened to skew Eve towards the apple instead. It's very interesting.
Yeah.
That was one of my like favorite takeaways in my research, was that someone had talked about how, their happiness was grounded in their relationship with God and everything that flowed out of that, being in the garden. But sometimes we just think that if we just have that one more thing, we'll be happy. And I was like, that's really good insight heading into a new year, I thought.
Yeah. I'm glad you mentioned that. You had mentioned that in your sermon, Pastor John. Yeah. Like we got to be careful for those types of like thought patterns where we're like, oh, just this one more like reward, or this one more like ticket to the theme park or something, so to speak. What?
Yeah. For me, it's dogs. If I just had one more dog.
Right. One more dog. Yeah. Or in our modern world, it's like, oh, let me just buy this one more thing, like this new phone or this new device to replace something that I don't need to replace now. It's very fascinating.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate what you started the new year off for us, P. John. We much appreciate that.
Thank you. Yeah.
before you head out, any prayer requests that we can be praying for you besides the fact that you just bought a church?
That's right. Yeah, I somehow bought Magnolia Park, First United Methodist Church. No, well, actually, yeah, in that same vein, prayers for this transition. For those that are listening that maybe didn't happen to be in church on Sunday, I'm being reappointed to Magnolia Park United Methodist Church in Burbank starting July 1st. So just prayers for the next 6 months will just be a wonderful time of ministry here, that I'll be able to, leave this church on good footing, and whatever transitions need to be made there, and prayers for my family as we get ready for that, and prayers that God will get me ready to be a solo pastor, because I've been relying heavily on Pastor Jim. So that'll be a big step for me.
Pastor John, real quick before you go, I told Jonah and Keith that you weren't going to be our pastor come July. And they were both like, "What? Why didn't you tell me?" And I was like, "I thought I did tell you. I thought you already knew." And Keith was like, who doesn't even go to the church, but he's gone to winter camp a couple times. He was like, "Pastor John was my favorite pastor." So,
that's so nice.
That means a lot. Thank you so much for telling me that. Wow.
Yeah, winter camp this year in February.
Yeah.
Okay, because I was like, you better go to winter camp so you can have one more. So anyway, I'm sorry to keep you.
It's funny that I'm glad you mentioned that. Pastor Jim was literally asked me today. He's like, "Hey, are you going to start advertising winter camp?" I'm like, "Yes, I need to do that." So yeah.
Well, I've got 2 that are probably going to go for sure.
Awesome.
I wanted to say, you got this, Pastor John. I think you're an awesome pastor, and I have so much confidence in you. And I can say for sure that when you go to the new church, I'll be listening online, and maybe I'll come in person when I have the opportunity every so often.
That would be awesome. Yeah. I would love that. I would love a visit. That would be great. Thanks, Tim.
Yeah. You're welcome. Thank you.
I'll make you a liturgist. You can read the scripture.
Yes.
Just let me know ahead of time.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, P. John, before we head into, I don't know if you got to head out, but we appreciate you taking the time to join us for today's podcast and sharing additional insight into the sermon that you preached this past Sunday. And we're excited for more. And many blessings to you and your family. We're excited for what's to come. And until then, you're still stuck with us.
Well, as I said in my sermon, 2024 is my year of seeking out feedback. So speaking of sermons, for future sermons, I love to hear more things that you like, but also things that you need tweaking. I always need that type of feedback too. But yes, you're right. I do need to go. We have a trustees committee meeting starting in a few minutes, so I need to head out for that.
All right.
Thank
you for joining us. We'll see you.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Pastor John.
All right. Good seeing you. Take care.
Yeah. Good seeing you.
Good to see you.
Well, we love Pastor John.
Let's talk about how we really feel about Pastor John.
Yes. Pastor John is fantastic.
Let's talk about what we really thought. So the sermon, I was so confused. No, I'm just kidding.
Wait, we could actually go back, but I don't know.
No. Tim, any prayer requests?
I guess my last prayer was simple. This is going to be even more simple. For me to follow the path of meditation through my new discovery of counting and other memory related things. Somehow that provides me a lot of comfort, and it's extremely straightforward for me to do. It's pretty much natural. In fact, when I was a teenager and I learned about meditation, for some reason I had the insight then to notice that I was thinking a lot while I was trying to meditate. And so at that point, I decided to count. So I don't know why it took me like more than 10 years to remember that's a really good meditation technique for me. So prayers for me to like continue on that path, and hopefully continue journal writing as well, and going for daily walks.
Yeah. Any random life hacks that you can share with us today, Tim?
Let's see.
Anything involving a potential square piece of paper, anything that you feel like you should share with us today?
Wait, here, go to Beth, and then I will interject a life hack.
Okay. Beth, any prayer requests?
Yes. So I didn't really make any New Year's resolutions. I did want to start yoga at the beginning of the year, but then I got sick, and instead of like it kind of feels a little bit like the new year is ruined because I haven't been able to do any of the things I wanted to do. But also I know that that's not even true a little bit. So my mom emailed me, and I guess my aunt sent an email to her and my uncle about just picking a word for the new year that you kind of want to keep with yourself. And so my mom chose the word grace. And I was thinking what word I could choose. And I think I said intention like 20 times last podcast. And so I decided that that's going to be my word this year. I'm going to try to do everything with intention. And just like with everything, like my words and what I put into my body and that kind of thing. But right now I'm just focusing on not being sick anymore. That's my intention right now.
Yeah.
So prayers that when I do feel better, I can, well, not that I can't do things with intention when I'm sick, but it'll be easier to do more things with intention when I'm not struggling to not cough every 5 seconds and I don't just prayers that I can figure out how to do things better with more intention. And also prayers for my mom. She's having surgery, rotator cuff surgery on the 19th, and she's kind of not looking forward to it. And I guess it's a really long recovery period. I think it's 6 months, but that seems really long.
It is really long. Amber's principal from Burbank actually had that done in August and just returned to work.
Oh, wow.
Today.
Time.
So it is, but I'm so glad that your mom decided to get the surgery because that's going to be huge. And we'll be praying because recovery is a lot of work, but if she puts the work in, and I know she will, because she's from the Midwest, and I know the Midwest people put the work in, then she's going to feel so much better. So,
and she's also retired. So luckily she doesn't have a job that she needs to return to, but she also likes to crochet. So I don't know. 6 months without crocheting seems like a long time.
Yeah.
But
she's going to figure something out. She'll learn how to do it with her toes.
Yeah, she'll do it with her toes. Yeah.
I think that would be a really masterful feat if she could do that.
Yeah.
No pun intended, Tim.
Oh, wait. Oh, my gosh. I really did.
Prayers that my mom can start crocheting with her feet.
Yes. I like that one. Tim, were you about to read us today's life hack?
Yeah. So I would say that this kind of follows what I'm trying to do for my New Year's resolution regarding walking. I have something here. Did you know that walking 3 miles will burn more calories than running 1 mile? Keep in mind that walking while listening to music, a podcast, or audiobook may be easier than running for many people.
What? That's crazy that was the life hack. That's amazing.
Wow. Mind blown. Jessica, what do you have for us this fine evening?
Thank you so much for asking. I do want to mention, I was so excited that I found that calendar life hack book for Tim. It was something I came across and I was like, oh my gosh, I'm getting this for Tim. So every single day, everybody just know this. Every day, Tim is going to flip the page and receive a new lesson of a life hack that he can provide to his life. And I'm so excited because every Monday I'm now going to ask you what the life hack is.
And
I'm so glad to hear that.
To our own lives.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not limited by the days, right? I could choose any of the days in the week to read the life hack or just read it.
Every single day, Tim. Every day.
Yeah, thank you so much for that, Jessica and Amber, for getting that life hack calendar for me.
You're welcome, Tim.
I'll share the insight with the podcast listeners. I'll carefully go through and find the best ones in the given week.
Perfect.
And we can enjoy it together.
Perfect. In terms of prayer requests, I would say just for like peace. I don't know. Like I'm still like trying to process like what is God teaching me in this moment right now? Because I'm just kind of like frustrated, sad. I don't even know. Like I don't even know the words to really express like how I feel, because it's just, I don't know. It's not what we were hoping in terms of the outcome for things. And so I think I'm just like patiently waiting for God to reveal what the bigger picture is. And I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do in the meantime, because I don't know how long that's going to take. I can't just like not feel anything until I understand it, because if that takes a year, then I'm going to be really weird to be around for a whole year.
I'm already really weird to be around.
Yeah. I don't know. Like maybe we'll just have like an exponential like weirdness, like all three of us, and it'll just we'll be on the journey together, Jessica.
Yeah.
Just remember to be gentle with yourself.
Yeah. I think that's kind of like a running theme here. Because earlier today, because I was having an off day and I was feeling kind of feverish, I was like, there was a point where I just kept pushing myself to do more with like at work and just in general. And at some point, I was just like, I need to stop being so hard on myself.
Yeah, I think historically, I've always like expressed my thoughts and feelings through music, and I've felt this urge to like write a song about how I'm feeling, but I haven't felt like I have like the right space or like mental clarity or something to really put it together. I am fortunate that God, I feel, has like really blessed me with that ability to write my feelings in music, because when it comes to me, I literally can write a song in like 5 minutes.
That's amazing.
And I know that it's God through me. Like there's worship songs that I've written that I don't know how I've written them, but I know God is working through me. And there's songs I've written that I'm like, who wrote this? Because I don't recognize that it's from me. It's more something that's through me. And so anyways, I'm hoping that I can get to that point where I'm able to, be in this spiritual space of clarity and calm, and I can articulate my thoughts through song.
Yeah, absolutely, Jessica.
Yeah.
Then maybe later you can articulate my thoughts through song, because I can't do that.
I can't either, really.
I'll just tell you word jumbles, and then you're like, oh, so what you're saying is
In the choir, my boy. What? Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, feel free to send it over. It'd be funny for me to try to write something for you, Beth.
That would be awesome. I really should. I should just like send you like voice rambles and then you just turn it into a song.
Perfect.
Wow.
That sounds good, Beth.
Okay.
Yeah, that's very nice. Yeah, what I was going to say is when I'm performing in the choir, my voice just kind of does things, and sometimes I don't even like I'm not able to hear the meaning of the lyrics at the same time that I'm singing. So somehow my mouth is just like creating the sounds. It's interesting, but sorry, that was a what would you call it? A diversion or? Oh
no, I think it's great. I think that's good. I mean,
a diversion, so that I don't know. Never mind.
That's a conversion. We've all been converted. No, that's not right. No.
Well, yeah, it was. Oh, I was just going to go back a little bit and say, yeah, it was just so nice that we could have Pastor John in for his sermon, because last time we had Pastor John on, he was commenting on Pastor Jim's sermon. So whenever we have an opportunity to have Pastor John in when he is preaching, I think we'll definitely do so.
Yeah, I think what'll be cool is we could have Pastor John on again, even when he's moved churches.
Oh, yes. I was going to mention that to him, but you got it, Jessica. Perfect.
Hey.
Yeah.
Also, I'm actually pretty excited that Burbank isn't really that far from here. So
yeah, I was really excited to hear that he was selected for Burbank. I think that's going to be a great place for his family. You know, they've got IKEA there.
I know.
You
don't need to list any more things.
Wait,
that's all they need.
Oh no, Tim. Tim, I think we all need to take a field trip to IKEA.
Yes. We should do a podcast live from IKEA.
Oh my gosh, that would be so funny.
And there's a song
we could sit at a dinner table that's on display and
Tim, go listen to that song when we're done with the podcast. It's called IKEA by Jonathan Colton. That'll everything you need to know about IKEA.
Okay. I will listen to it. I promise.
Okay. Additionally, in short, it is the IKEA that's in Burbank is the largest one in North America. It's 250,000 square feet.
Isn't it like 8 football fields or something?
It's whatever 250,000 square feet equals. Correct.
8 football fields.
That is correct. We are mathematical geniuses and have proved this to be true.
Yep. I love IKEA so much. It's like my Disneyland.
It's so much fun. And I heard, and I continue to hear, that it is the true test for relationships. So if you, Tim, I know as this is our subtle dating site podcast for you, whenever you find your true love, we will send you both to an IKEA to test out the relationship dynamic. And if you survive, you will win a hot dog and an ice cream cone.
Yes, which are really cheap, like $1.
They're $1. Yeah.
Yep.
And if you do really well, you'll get a 6-pack of cinnamon rolls.
Yes, I love the cinnamon rolls. And their meatballs. Don't forget.
They're Swedish meatballs.
Lots of delicacies here on the dating podcast.
Yes.
We could call it dating delicacies.
Yes.
Yes, perfect.
Great. We're going to have to change all the branding now.
No.
Anyways, well, I had fun with you guys today, and just to kind of echo what you said, Tim, I'm glad we were able to have Pastor John on today. And looking forward to next week as we continue our New Beginnings series. It's going to be an awesome week ahead for us, and looking forward to chatting with everybody soon enough.
Different places, we all have different names. No matter what life brings us, Jesus is the same. We're just your Methodist to the madness. Methodist to the madness.